At ease. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Men, I want to talk to you today about something very important. And I'm mainly speaking to the young men. I want to talk to you about something that I learned from a guy that I served with, several years ago by the name of John LEMACKS. Now, when I first came in the military, man, went through basic training, went to my duty station. As soon as I get to my duty station, John's already there, man. John's he's an E4. He's a specialist, which is like the highest ranking of soldiers. You know what I mean? So John's in our unit, man. And there are three things that stood out about John. One was John was always questioning authority, right? So all of us new privates were there, man. We would have our little formations in the morning. And the sergeants, man, will come through and tell us what they want done. And all of us little good soldiers, man, we would just, break formation and start knocking stuff out. But John would always question what they put out. Always. He never said he wouldn't do it. He just questioned it at all times. So that was one characteristic I remember about John. Two, John was very blunt. Now, it didn't matter, man, on who was in the room. It didn't matter what your rank was. It didn't matter how many people were around. If John thought something, he just said it like it was. It was almost like he had no filter, man. He didn't care if you were a captain or sergeant major. If you came in and said something stupid, John would just be like, that don't make no sense. Like, why would we do that? And that was just another characteristic about John. Third, John always had crazy ways of doing things. So we were mechanics, right? And on all our track units, there was this little solenoid, like a fuel. I think it was a fuel relay solenoid. And these things would go out left and right, man. You were replacing at least 2 or 3 solenoids a day, man. So there came a point in time, man, where our sergeants were like, hey, what's going on? Like, we haven't replaced solenoids in weeks. Like what's going on? So the thing is, John had taught us all how to bypass these, man, or pretty much hotwire the system, so we didn't even need it anymore, man. So we had a whole fleet of tanks that would just bypass. Now this seemed crazy, man. You're kind of hotwiring military vehicles, but in the long run, man, it saved us a lot of money, man. So those are just 3 main characteristics about John that I remember while working with him, man. Now, before I left Fort Stewart, we did a couple of tours in the Middle East, man. We spent a couple of years working together. But before I left Fort Stewart, there were certain things I remembered about him, right? One was John was always around leadership, right? So if you John was a heavy smoker. If you saw John out there in the parking lot smoking, man, he was out there with the sergeant majors and the first sergeants and the staff sergeants and the captain when he came around. He was always around these people. If you go to lunch, man, we would go out in town, and John would always be at lunch with some higher ranking military personnel, man. And for a minute, I always thought that it was John just brown nosing, right? So that was one thing I remember about John before I left. The second thing is he always stood out. Like everybody knew who he was. I remember we had a battalion run, and we're all in formation running. I'm not sure how many miles it was, but the battalion commander was up front, holding the flag running. And he's just like, at that point in time, John was a sergeant. He's like, where's Sergeant LEMACKS? Out of hundreds of soldiers. The commander called him out. John went up there holding the flag and running. And the whole time I'm running, I'm like, how does he know LEMACKS? Like, how did he pick this guy out of this whole battalion? The third thing I remember about him before I left is that he always superseded rank, right? Like, once John got his E5, all the E7s and E8s, they always bypass, the staff sergeants, the E6s, to get John's take on things, man. And that was common. It wasn't that he just had that much more knowledge. It was just that for some reason they were drawn to John, man. So these are the things that I remember about him. Now, it wasn't until 15 years later before I even realized that I had learned something from John. Now, what John taught me, man, was that there was something that could override any degree that I could earn. What he taught me was that there was something that could override any level of experience that someone had besides me. What he taught me, man, is that iron sharpens iron. So it's 15 years later. Here I am starting a new job. Now, little did I know that history was about to repeat itself. So I start this new job, man, corporate position, entry level. You know, I'm a peon, right? And my first week on the job, man, we're having a meeting out in Nashville. So I get on a plane and I go to Nashville. So I get there and we go in this big room. There's this big table and there's about 10 men and a few ladies sitting at this table. And then all the peons like myself, you know, we're sitting around the edge. You know, we're just observing at this point in time, right? We're the privates, we're the E1s of this whole situation. So our vice president comes in, man, and she's giving her spiel on how we're going to increase revenue for the next quarter, right? So she gives like this 20 to 30 minute PowerPoint presentation. She finishes that, and she gives about a 10 to 12 minute spiel on what she thinks we need to do, and we go from there. So when she gets done with that, she opens it up, man, for conversation. And as soon as she opened the floor up, there was one guy that says, like, that doesn't make any sense. And as soon as he said that, our vice president, man, she pointed at her assistant, almost like she was saying, like, that's your cue. And her assistant gets up, man, and gets on the board, man, and she's taking notes. So the guy's like, that doesn't make any sense. And he goes through his little spiel like, our competitors are doing this. Last quarter we did this, blah, blah, blah. Why would we do that? And as soon as he got done, a guy on the other side of the table, he's saying the same thing. He was like, well, why do we do this? Why don't we do blah, 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 blah? He's giving his spiel. And after 1 or 2 minutes of 3 or 4 of them giving their own little take, I sit back and I realize something, man. I said, I'm in a room full of John LEMACKS. And it was at that very moment, man, that I understood a lot of things, man. I understood that iron sharpens iron. And then I thought back 15 years before that, man. And I always said, you know, I thought John was always brown nosing. Like, why was he around all these high-ranking people all the time, man? And I realized that it wasn't John wanting to be around them. It was them wanting to be around John. Because see, man, once you get in military situation where there's a hard rank structure, once you get in your job, corporate America, whether it's whatever you're doing in your workplace, there's a rank structure. And what's most common is everybody becoming yes men. You know, as soon as you have somebody in leadership and they're saying, this is the way we're going to do it, you know, we're going to do it like this, everybody's just in agreement. Like, yeah, good job. That's the way we need to do it. And the thing that stood out about John is John was not a yes man. John was his own man. And that's what attracted them to a lot of people, because they knew if they were around John, they were going to get growth, because John was going to keep it real with them. And I learned that, man. And I was like, that's what it's about. Now, John was a unique type character, man. Now, I believe John was about 1.5 years, 2 years younger than me, but I looked at him like a big brother for some reason. You know, I'm not sure if it was because of the rank or what. So one thing about John, man, is he was the kind of guy, man, that you could love him and hate him at the same time. And the reason is because, you know, once I began to work directly for him, he was the biggest asshole on the planet, man. You know, he was telling about yourself left and right. But at the exact same time, John would teach you everything he knew, man. There were several times I spent at John's house on the weekend, man. He taught me how to work on cars, man, how to work on transmissions. He taught me how to clean certain kind of weapons. John, man, even though he was younger than me, he taught me a lot of stuff that I didn't get a chance to learn when I was a young man, when my father wasn't there. It was a lot of stuff just spending time with him that I picked up on just manhood in general, man. But unfortunately, man, John passed away, a handful of years ago, man. He had a battle with cancer a number of years ago, man, and he passed away. But there are three tenets, man, three things that I learned from John, and this is what I want to talk to you young men about today, man. The three tenets of manhood. The first tenet, always say what's on your mind. Man, there are going to be several times in your life, man, whether it's work related or whether it's in your personal life where you're going to have to really, grab your kahunas, man, and say what you're thinking about, right? There's going to be some times, man, where you're at work, y'all are going to be in a group setting, man, and opinions will be flying around. Your boss or your manager will be giving their spiel on certain things. And it's your job as a man that if you feel a certain kind of way about it or if you feel indifferent, you need to voice that. That's what's going to set you apart from everybody else. That's what's going to put you above and beyond the rest, man. There are going to be times, man, where you're in a relationship. You may be in a relationship, whether it's just with friends or whether it's with some woman. And some stuff will be said that you really don't agree on. And as a man, you need to voice your opinion. That's part of being a man. Never let somebody intimidate you. Never let the fact of going against the masses intimidate you from saying what you feel. That's a sign of weakness. Always voice your opinion, man. So that's number one. Always state what's on your mind. Number two, never fear loss. Now, when we get to number two, man, I really think about Brother John, man, because I remember, man, in the military when John would be in front of commanders, man, he would be in front of colonels, and here he was, a little E4, man, a little E5, and John was just voicing his opinion. He didn't care who was around, how many people was around, and all the time he was doing this, all I could think of was, like, dude, this dude is finna lose his rank. Like, this dude is, like, what is he thinking about? Even looking at jobs I've had over the years, man, when I see people like this, or matter of fact, the things that would keep me from voicing my opinion would be the fear of loss. I mean, sometimes I would be at a job, man, and I know something was wrong. Either I know somebody was being treated wrong, I know a process was being done wrong. And something in me was just saying, don't say nothing because you don't want to lose your job. And that's one thing, guys, as men, we need to not be afraid of losing something due to us voicing our opinion. So never fear losing something, man. You voice your opinion, and if someone wants to get rid of you for trying to make the situation better, then good riddance. Number three, be a free thinker. What I mean by that, guys, is always be able to think for yourself. Like I said a second ago, yes, it's good to be a part of something bigger, but you always need to have an innovative mindset. You always need to have the ability to think outside the box. Going back to John, right? John saw a situation, with our fleet. We're spending money left and right. And instead of going to get some kind of approval to redo something, John just went and taught all of us how to remap the whole blueprint of the vehicles, man. Always be innovative and always be a free thinker. Always study to make yourself better. And again, don't be afraid to voice that. Always be able to think for yourself, man. And that's the third tenet of manhood. So I made this video yesterday called "We're Adapting, but Are We Evolving?" And before I posted this video, I was 100% sure that it would ruffle some feathers. I was 100% sure that it would step on some toes. Now there were some guys that commented on the video and it was like, you know, hey, good stuff, man. Like I never thought about that, and hey, let's move forward. And then there were some guys that were like, you know, you traitor, you're betraying the organization, whatever they were saying, you know, you traitor. And I was like, and then, you know, then they were threatening to unfollow or unsubscribe. And to those guys, I suggested that you do so. And then you had some guys that were like, hey man, you know, that's good stuff, man, but maybe you should have, you know, said this part that way, or maybe you shouldn't have used these words. And I was like, cool. But this is my response to the whole video. I don't apologize for any single thing I said, and this is why. Somewhere over the past few years, I believe, a lot of us men have picked up a female trait. Now, this is what I mean. Take two females, right? Now, you can have two females in high school. You can have one female walking beside another female. They don't say one single word to each other. They just look at each other funny. And for some reason, them women will stay mad for the next 40 or 50 years and won't even know why. Well, men are the opposite. See, men can fight and disagree. In the next 5 minutes, man, they're back on mission. That's just how we're made. You know, I can think about me growing up, man. It was in my neighborhood. It was about 10 or 12 of us, right? And we would play football, basketball, baseball, just like all other kids. But every single day, man, or every few days, it's gonna be somebody fighting. One of the two is gonna be fighting, man. It was just a matter of it being your turn, and it may be over something as simple as, you know, talking noise or somebody threw a football at your head, but there was going to be a fight. And you know what? The next 5-10 minutes, we were back playing football like it never happened. And that's an example of iron sharpening iron, man. That's just how real men are made. Take that same example, man, of me growing up. Now, we would have our fights all the time, right? But let somebody come into our neighborhood talking noise about playing basketball when we get on the court. Let somebody come talking about, you know, playing us in football. Let somebody even come to our hood talking about fighting, man. And anybody on our squad was going to be ready. And the reason is because we were always in an iron sharpening iron mentality. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way men are made. So the other day I'm at home, man, I'm cleaning, you know, I'm sweeping, I'm mopping, I'm doing the dishes, you know, normal stuff. And I got a little YouTube playing in the background. And I'm listening to a fitness channel, man, that I've probably been subscribed for 2 or 3 years. So I'm sweeping along, man, and this guy's going through his normal spiel, you know, and another video rolls around of his. And he just comes on and he's straight 100% with us, man. He said, a lot of you guys have been listening to me since day one. He said, but all you do is make excuses. You eat what you want to do. You're lazy. He said, you just don't want to get off your fat ass. And I stopped what I was doing. I was like, dang, is this the same guy? You know, I went and picked up my phone and I'm watching the rest of the video. Now, there were 3 things I could have done at that very point, right? I could have, one, I could have went on this brother's page and said, you know, oh, you know, you're using shaming tactics, man, and shame on you, and I'm going to unsubscribe, unfollow you, man, you're wrong. I could have done that. Or 2, I could have kept on sweeping, and I could have said, you know what, he's talking some good stuff, but he's not talking to me, and that would have been denial. Or 3, I could have said, this information that this guy's putting off, it could be making me a better man, and I could continue to listen. So what did I do? I listened to this whole video, and when I got done, man, I went in my bathroom, I looked in my mirror, I stood on my scale, and I said, you know what? He was talking to me. You know what I'm saying? So what did I do? I took this information, I took my ass to the gym, got a membership, got my ass on a treadmill, and been going every day since then to make myself a better man. And that's what being a man is all about. It's about being able to help your brothers by giving your side. It's also about being able to recognize flaws in yourself. But I don't take stuff like that saying, oh, you know, you're a traitor. Why are you changing up on us? Anything that comes through my ears, man, or through my eyes, I'm processing it. And I'm saying, is it going to make me a better man? And that's one thing a lot of us have to get on board about, man, as far as MGTOW or anything in life. Anything in life, man. It's not all about the masses, man. It's not all about, oh, if you're not doing what everybody else is doing, oh, you're wrong. Man, you need to be a free thinker. You need to be able to voice your own opinion. That's where the growth is. Going back to, you know, if you see my video about the finances, you know, I talked about the guy who showed me how to work my money. Now, I could have easily said, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. I've always done it this way, done it this way. But this man told me what he told me. I looked at myself and I said, you know what? When it comes to money, I said, I don't have a clue what's going on. It's all about self-evaluation, guys. It's all about growth. That's what being a man is about. We need to lose this female tendency that a lot of us have picked up. We got to get some thick skin. Look at my comment section, man. You know, I'll make some videos and guys will come on there and say, you know, hey, man, good video, but I disagree. You know, I think this, and this. And sometimes they'll leave a link. What I'll do, I'll go to that link, I'll watch an entire video, and I'll come back. And sometimes I'll say, you know what, brother, I never thought about that. I'll say, thank you for adding some valuable content to the comment section. Go check it out. I mean, you know, it's not about being right, man. It's either we're about growing or we're not. You can't straddle a fence on that. And one thing about growth, you cannot have thin skin. It's gonna be a lot of times. It's a lot of guys that I'm subscribed to, right? It's a lot of guys that I'm subscribed to. I believe a very small percentage of what they say, and I still listen to them. I still donate to them. You know what I'm saying? Because there's just some growth that I'm still getting out of it, guys. We just gotta wake up, man. We just gotta wake up. Everybody's not gonna think the same, but that's where the growth is, right? I got a guy I spoke with on the phone. I think this was yesterday. He's a patron, man. He had a question about finances and other stuff. And man, this brother talked on the phone, and it's weird because we were talking on the phone for a few minutes, and I realized the brother lives, just a certain amount of miles away. I'm in Dallas and he's in Fort Worth. So we're talking on the phone, man, for about 15, 20 minutes strong. We're talking about marriage. We're talking about finances. We're talking about stock. And at no point in time did I say, because this brother was married with kids. At no point in time did I say, oh, brother, you're married. Like, ooh, you're the enemy. You can't. At no point in time did I do that, man. That's one thing that bothers me, man. Yeah, we put out MGTOW content, but I have a lot of guys that follow me that are married. They're not worried about the MGTOW content. They're just worried about the information, period. Because in a nutshell, I'm more worried about us men growing as men before I'm worried about MGTOW. That's the least of my worries. I'm more worried about men as a whole being better. I don't care if you're married or not. And that's one thing I hear on some of these channels. You know, some guys will chime in on some live calls or chime in the comment section and they're mad on their relationships. And guys will be like, oh, no, get out of here, blah, 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 blah. That's lame, man. Because if it's one thing about this channel, if a man is married, if a man is in a relationship, you know, that's his choice. I respect that. So, and that's why I don't have a problem saying the word incels. You know, for some reason, me saying the word that some men are involuntarily celibate, some of y'all just tripped out on it. Like I said, the N word or something. And I'm like, in my mind, it's like, it just is what it is. If you're a guy and you can't get women, I'm not looking down on that. I'm not looking at that like you're the enemy. I'm just calling it what it is. But in my opinion, if you're a guy and you want to be involved with women, you want to engage with women, all I'm saying is don't front like you're telling everybody to stop leaving women. What you need to do is go follow AMS. You know what I'm saying? Because this guy's on it. He's teaching guys how to get women. All I'm saying is you got to keep it 100, guys. You got to keep it 100 with yourself, man. That's what this whole manhood thing is about. I don't know, man. That's all I have on that, guys.